Oh, yes. This is the Hardcore Marketing Show. I'm Casey Cheshire, your host for this epic journey. And today's show, sponsored by Cheshire Impact, on a mission to help people maximize their use of Pardot and Salesforce. CheshireImpact.com. Bam. And it's live. Yeah. So here we are. Another session about to begin. Epic podcast. I'm stoked. My guest today, social media pioneer. What does that even mean? It's like playing Oregon Trail, but with social media. Digital trailblazer, award-winning digital program strategist for B2B and B2C companies. He's been at groups that awarded the Midsize Healthcare Agency of the Year, the Social Media Agency of the Year. I think he knows a few things. He's worked with brands like Nestle, making me hungry, Butterfingers, what? Those things always get stuck in your teeth. UPS, Lexus, Mott's. He is the constructionist at Social Construction. The man, the myth himself. Jeremy Muratore. Welcome to the show, sir.
Hey, thanks for having me, Casey. Great to be here.
Yeah.
Wow. I got to send you a check, maybe a couple. That's one heck of an intro. Thank you.
Yeah. I'll send you my address right after that. No problemo. Or an invoice. Would you like an invoice? Would that be helpful for taxes?
Yeah, as long as you can get it through no paper. That's fantastic.
That's right. Oh yeah, all cash, right? Just send me the cash. Yeah,
yep.
No paper trail. Yeah.
Done.
Yeah. I don't think anyone from the IRS is listening to this show, but if they are, just kidding.
Yeah.
Well, hey man, it's our marketing leadership series, and I'm stoked to talk to you. You've all the accolades and all the awards and everything. I got to know, what can you possibly crush today? So here, let me pass you this thing. It's heavy for me, but I know you work out. Here you go. Thor's hammer. Got it?
Oh.
All right, man. Well, take Thor's hammer and crush for me some kind of myth, bogus strategy, misconception, set the record straight once and for all.
Sure. So, been in the game for so long, depending on who you talk to, there's different myths that need smashing. But, let's start off with an oldie but goodie and see where that takes us. So Social media is free.
Social media is free.
Yeah,
is it?
That's one you've heard, and everybody's been talking about it. I feel like, in this day and the age, if you are still believing that it's free, it doesn't cost anything, we can, pretty much, put like the most junior person on the team, on a social and just let them go without strategy and direction. It's great. What harm could they do, right?
Right. So this clearly, this is the myth. It's not free. It's not free, and it's not the inexperienced, no strategy approach to like let some just outsource that to somebody else.
Yeah, the interns in aisle 5. No,
right.
So it's something that you think folks would get by now and understand. It's funny. Back in 2006, when kind of social media first got off the ground and folks were taking notice at the amazing results, all the craziness with viral multipliers and all that kind of good stuff. When you actually could roll out a brand and launch it free on Facebook, right?
Yeah.
Back in the days of 80% of your page likes would see your message when you post from from a brand, right? That's just not the way it is these days. And it pains me down to the core when folks just say, hey, let's just put out content.
Mm-hmm.
Let's just put it out there. Let's just spend our time. We'll test and learn. We'll get it up there. Yeah, you want to test and learn, but if you want to see the results at the end of the day, you have to make sure you're reaching the right audience with the right content, the right message at the right time, all that kind of good stuff. And, you can turn on, a podcast, you can look up, tips and trends for the best time to post and all that stuff. Everybody is worried about how many times a day they're posting,
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, you can get stuck in the hamster wheel pretty quick. That continuous cycle of just cranking out content and, just seeing, oh, hey, we got some vanity metrics today, right? We got some likes. We got 5 more than yesterday. Great. Well, the folks who've really been in the game, for a long time and have kind of evolved and matured really to that ultimate pantheon level, really know that The best way if you're launching, a brand, you've got time. Time is a limited fixed resource, right? So if you've got a small team and you've got, a mountain of things to do on your to-do list, right? You know, building organic and the slow growth model is very altruistic. It feels good.
Mm,
You're like, yeah, I'm being authentic. I'm going out there. I'm gonna, you know, start small. It's a great story, but it's not always sustainable, right? You have to
right.
drive for the results. You need to grow and scale an audience. You need to, establish connection. You got to tell your brand story. All those kind of, things that everybody preaches about. The way I've always looked at it is social media didn't start out as social organic. It was social media for a reason, right? So most people don't know this, but if you go back and look at some of the history, you know, those brand channels, those, big things that, social media companies used to sell were actually, the value add, right?
Mm,
So taking it back to the days of MySpace back in '06, right? So, the pitch went something like this. Hey, we want you to buy, ads on MySpace. It'll be run a site. You guys can have, homepage, you can have, these different ad units, etc. Oh, and by the way, yeah, we'll, give you a space where you can set up shop. It'll, be customizable. You can reskin it.
mm-hmm.
And here's the cost, right? So, it's like right from day one, there was a cost, and they actually charged you and tried to re-up the agreement, to keep that community that you just, kind of drove activity and engagement and built up an audience. The whole play, the next quarter was, hey, you just built up an audience, your ad buy in order to keep it. And I was like, wait a second. So we just spent all this time and energy kind of driving folks to our MySpace page and building up, a following and some engagement. And you're telling me I actually have to re-up my, hefty 6-figure ad buy, for the next quarter in order to keep the page and keep it active and move things around. And that's the history that most folks don't understand. Like it
mm,
actually started out, in this paper play, and then Facebook came along and kind of went the exact opposite approach. And you actually had organic reach, and that was, the secret sauce to Facebook's success for a lot of years. It really was a very cheap, efficient way to reach, an audience at scale as a brand. And that's just kind of trickled, and over time, over the last like 10 years, Facebook has kind of turned off the fire hose, right? So they've cut
mm-hmm.
back on the organic reach of a post and really, try to get folks more accustomed and paying more, for ads, right? They've got to make their money and, all that kind of good stuff. And so over time, they just kind of shrink it. And you can see that as, definitely carried over to LinkedIn. If you're a new brand, and especially in the B2B space, you're trying to set up shop, launch a new brand, you can either, again, slow drip out content, on a
Mm-hmm.
daily basis, and just kind of hope you get into the right, person's feed, the right stream, leverage your, connections and all that kind of stuff. And I'm not saying that stuff isn't important. I'm just saying that if you got something of value from a social media perspective, right? You got a white paper, you got a podcast you think is interesting, you've got an infographic, you've got something important to say as part of your brand narrative, it is so relatively cheap and inexpensive to kind of pay to get it in front of the right folks to at least start the conversation,
Mm-hmm.
that it is kind of, it's kind of counterintuitive not to try that approach first, right? Some folks will say, oh yeah, you're paying to get in front of, folks, it doesn't feel real, it's not authentic. Well, you can definitely go down that route as a brand and not feel all cheesy. It's all about how you design the promoted content, and that's why, it's not free. Like if you look at the hours it takes to produce content, the time and energy it takes to, kind of go down that slow growth path. Yeah, sure. If you put a less expensive resource on the task, or heck, even if you hire somebody, with a hefty price tag to come in and kind of try that approach, you know, there's plenty of examples where that myth that I'm busting can totally be busted, right? But it's just a harder, barrier to overcome depending on your maturity and kind of where you are from a brand life cycle stage. So that's my long-winded, really soapboxy kind of way of answering the question, or trying to bust a myth. I don't even know if it was successful or not,
I
but
think so.
uh,
Yeah. Well,
it
a couple points come to mind right on that. This is this is unique. I've done a lot of interviews, right? I've talked to a lot of people, and this is something that I feel like a couple synapses on my brain have connected, right? I get the social media not being free because of time. And I think sometimes people forget about that. It's like actually your time costs money. Even if you did the math on like a person, even if it's a junior person, even if it's an intern, you do the math on how much you're paying them per hour or whatnot. Great. That's how much you spent. If you spent 5K or 30K or whatever, even a junior, like, okay, you actually spent 30K. What did you get back from it? Got back likes. Is that what you're looking for? Like people's time count too. And also if you're managing them, the time that you spend into that counts. And if you're not managing them, that sounds like it's even worse because you're just kind of like sinking money into time money into a hole, resources into a hole. And that makes sense. But I think you've kind of expanded to this even more interesting, this related topic, which is the altruism of going organic. Like the idea that because it's free, it's not we're not I don't know. It's something, and I have so many thoughts around it, but it's like it's almost like we're trying to avoid being salesy. Like,
yeah.
well, if we wanted to be a sales rep and cold call people, like what in our minds we think sales reps are, then we would just pay for ads and like go after people and be aggressive and ask for the sale. No, 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 no. We're going to be very hands off, just like the way it should be. Like the purest form of marketing is to allow people to come inbound and then come children, build it and they will come. And I wonder, I mean, I have some thoughts on that. Like I know a lot of us grew up around the days of HubSpot, who was like, look, we got an inbound tool. Let's make sure we brainwash the nation into thinking that, you know, the purest way to do it is just to blog the hell out of yourself and hope that people will come and hope that
Yeah.
Google doesn't change the algorithm. But almost like maybe not just HubSpot, but vendors saying like, oh, buy our stuff. This is the direction to go in might be it. Well, contributing to that, because I too have had that same mentality. You brought it up like, hey, what's the big deal with the ads, right? What's the big deal?
Well, yeah, you hit on a couple of excellent things, and we can riff on any one of those points
Right?
for hours. So, let me just build off that last point you made for a second and kind
Sure.
of go, right? It's like, what are the underlying motives in a strategy, right? So you got to think about who you're talking to, and, really depending on, who's kind of owning and running social, kind of what their background and experience set is, and really, where the lines of division, fall in your company is kind of the answer to that question,
Hmm.
right? So,
Yep.
going back in the day, when I was working on Nestle back in LA, we were the digital AOR. And so, back in '06 to '09, there was that whole power struggle. And it's still going on today. Nothing's really changed. And it's a shame because, when you kind of can work together and actually be social and align, your multi-channel, programs with your social media, and have your brand attributes being that overarching umbrella to guide
Yeah.
the conversation, that's when the magic happens, right? But if you think
Right.
about, the genesis of, the different strategies and approaches that have arisen coming from the PR agency, coming
Yeah.
from the digital agency, coming from, the consultants and it really is interesting because they're different schools of thoughts, right?
Mm-hmm.
PR folks, you think about the services that they sell. It's reputation management. It's brand, monitoring. You got to go back and trace it all the way back to, what they did before social media was there, right? And, you expand that into, the advertising agencies. If you got an advertising agency, you're just gonna, try to sell, more ads. And then once
Yep.
you kind of, get folks, bought into your approach, then you're going to try to expand out and, bring the other pieces together. It's like
Mm-hmm.
the one ring that rules them all. It
Right.
really true, right? So we can talk about that conversation from a data perspective or from, a social media perspective, right?
Right.
It's it's such a it's such a great topic, and there's no right answer, there's no wrong answer. It's just that, it's a starting point. And when you're having a
Sure.
conversation, you have to start somewhere, right?
Yeah.
So, if you're more corporate, if you're more structured, you kind of put the eggs in the PR basket. You want to make sure that, you're integrating, all functions of social at the enterprise level. You've got your, HR, customer service, you're going down the social business path, right?
Yeah.
But if you're, a startup CPG brand, and you're trying to, get folks to, you know, see your toothpaste different than,
Hmm.
the 500 toothpaste out there, or to launch a craft brew, which in an oversaturated market, that's where you have a different playbook and a different, priority list, right? So,
Right.
that's, I guess, another myth we can, really bust. It's like a social media strategy is a one size fits all, right? You've got folks who'll say, oh, hey, if you're running your business, these are the 5 or 6 things. And the reality is, unless you're actually inside that organization and kind of see what's worked, what hasn't worked, what things have been tried, what things have failed, what things, are happening in other parts of the business, right?
Yeah.
You're not really going to have enough information to put together the best strategy and
Mm.
have the best results from it, right? It's like, here, we could play the game with your company, with my company, with any
Sure.
company out there. And, the reality is, whatever is public facing, there's a time delay, right?
Hmm.
As much as we, do the real time thing, do Facebook Live, LinkedIn, going live there, whatever. Most folks don't see all the work behind the scenes that go into it and think, oh, shoot, hey, this is what they're doing now. Well, the best
Hmm.
companies, if you go back to, any industry vertical out there, retail usually works on a 2-year, fast forward, where they're planning out, what's going to be hot, 2 years from now. Food and beverage, same sort of thing. You're, looking at food trends and trying to project, 2 to 3 years into the future, and then working, at your pinnacle of influence at like the white tablecloth establishments, and then kind of bringing
Yep.
that down into fast food, right? So, same thing with influencers. You can look at, one path that folks will go from a strategy perspective is, we got to partner with a great influencer. They've got, a built-in network, a million, folks. They're, speaking our language. They're totally the best way to reach our audience.
Hmm.
Well, the reality is, you're not unique. There's probably other folks out there trying to tap those same folks. And at the end of the day, really, are you a great fit? Sure, Kim Kardashian's had a ton of success, right? And we can kind of look at that model and go, oh yeah, you know what? Everybody should race to be an influencer and build up their following. And, but again, to your point about being altruistic, it's like, where do you draw the line between, promoted self promotion, doing the product placements and endorsements? Star Wars, right? It's like,
Right. Yeah.
it's, there's so many different paths to take, and there is no right answer, right? There is no magic bullet. There is no, right answer for everybody. You have to go through the journey of figuring that out for yourself. And no matter how many, how many blogs you read, or, how many podcasts you attend, or, how many experts you listen to, if you can't pick up insight and translate that and bring it back internally to your organization and figure out how it's going to work best for you with your team members working together as a team to figure this stuff out, you're not going to, replicate the success that others have had, right?
Well, I think it sounds like heresy, though, honestly, because I think the
It is.
people that listen to this podcast are brilliant, and they are basically, if not already CMOs, will soon be CMOs, just from the sheer knowledge collected over this thing. But I get the overall point. I'm kind of kidding around, anyways. But the idea
Yeah.
is there's no silver bullet strategy or software. We complain a lot about how there's no like tech that will magically solve your problems. You got to do the thinking up in the top of your brain here first, do the strategy thought process of like, what's the goal you're trying to accomplish? How can we make that happen? And really gathering things and testing things. You can't just, listen to, one podcast, except for this one. This one, you should
Oh,
just
of
listen to.
course. Yeah.
But
Yeah. I'm
everything
losing my
else,
audience
definitely not.
now. I just told all your subscribers to, stop attending podcasts and get back to talking to your teams. Right.
Right.
But,
Exactly.
it's that's the biggest thing, right? It's like, it's talking, right? So if you're in social and you're trying to have conversations, you have to talk to around the org,
Right.
whether you're building out your content pipeline or looking at measurement or, really figuring out, what's interesting and happening that you can kind of translate into, amazing content, right? You have to
Mm-hmm.
have your ear around, right? You gotta do the work, right? You gotta have the ideas up here, but then they have to connect to your hands and they have to
Yep.
connect to your output. And then that has to translate into great content that's going to resonate and connect with your audience, right? So that's another thing. Folks tend to, I don't want to say fail at, but they
Mm.
tend to lose sight at. It's like, yeah, oh, we invested so much in the social strategy, we're just going to hand it off to somebody else to execute, right? That's always a good one. It's like, oh yeah, we'll just pay you for the ideas, and our team will go ahead and run with it, right? Well,
Yeah. I think there's a risk there. I think what people forget, and I was just kind of thinking this myself right now, is that, we do all this editing and this thought process around what to put in an email. You have drafts back and forth. Is this our brand? Does this look right? Is this written right? Does this look
yeah,
salesy? And we did a workshop like last week, and it being like a 2-hour workshop where we just critiqued emails and talked about what was right and right. It was awesome. It was fun.
yeah,
But one of the things that happens is you realize, like, most people get those things wrong. Well, every single tweet, every single Facebook share, LinkedIn share is like an email. It doesn't get to the inbox, right? But it has the potential to get into someone's eyes, and that's got to be on message. It's got to be your
yeah.
brand. It's got to be something, either pluses or minuses, where it's coming from. So it matters,
Yeah,
and
it
you
totally
can't.
does.
To your point earlier, you can't just chuck it in the hands of someone. I will say though, my younger friends tend to get it, and they just need to be sort of like caught up to who is the brand. If hopefully the brand knows who they are. Hey, this is how we are. So when you're being us on social, this is who we are. Don't necessarily be yourself to that person managing it. Be the brand, not
Yeah.
necessarily yourself. And I maybe the two match up, and that's even better. But you want to be cognizant of that.
Well, that's it, right? So, you have to lay the ground rules. It's almost like, playing a part in a movie, right?
Yeah.
So you've got your guidelines. You got to go in character. You got to put your brand hat on. You got to understand, what's acceptable, what's not. You got to embody the brand, especially if you're going to be writing. But that's something else, right? It's a lot of folks think that, hey, we're just going to hire a social media person. They're going to do everything, right? It's like, hey, we're going to find that person who, like you said, can, with a little coaching, a little bit of training, speak the brand.
Sure.
But, we also expect them to produce the content in some cases, write the copy,
Yep.
hop into the video editing, suite, can build some nice creative, or at least work with a team or an agency, or somebody to do it.
Yeah.
And it's funny, like, depending on, who you talk to, if they haven't actually risen the ranks and done the work and seen, how to do it right, and all that work effort and all the different things you kind of have to know in
Mm-hmm.
order to, your point, craft that perfect tweet, or to put something on brand and on message like every single time.
Yeah.
They're like, oh, they take it for granted. It's like, oh, look, I can go on Facebook right now. I can type this in and hit send and,
Mm-hmm.
get it out done. Well, yeah. Did you remember to put tracking tags on there? Did you
Yeah.
remember to include, key message and your brand attributes? Have you, tagged the right folks? Have you, there's all these different things to think about. And to your point, you could probably pick, 50 examples, which is a huge sample set, but you could probably pick like 5, right? And you'll see the same sorts of, things that need improvement. You can kind of tell just by looking at, a feed or a stream for a bit, kind of what their strategy is, give or take. But you also have to remember that every feed's different. So the algorithms these days, add so many interesting dynamics. The same way that the search algorithms kind of customize, everything based on, behavior, engagement, social connections, interactions, recommendation sets, all that kind of good stuff. If you don't really understand how the algorithms work, you can't
Mm-hmm.
really game the system, right? So a lot of the folks, again, depending on where you sit in your history and background from a social perspective, they'll be like, oh, they don't understand data, right? And they don't
Right.
necessarily understand how to leverage the data to play the game
Mm.
and master the system that the architects have built. And you got to understand the rules of the system. So it's like video
Right.
game dynamics, right?
Right.
So yeah, I don't know about you, but I grew up playing, video games,
Yeah.
sleepovers, of, staying up all night playing Metroid and, Legend of Zelda and all that kind of stuff,
Of course. I feel like we need to
Right?
play those now. Like all the games
Seriously.
have turned into like little like pay per play bullshit, when it's like we did games better back in our day.
Well, think about it, right? Yes and no. So like the console games, the whole at-home experience was much better, but
Yeah.
to get that same level of gameplay and that same time investment, right? Like you could buy a $50 cartridge on Nintendo and spend, you know, 1,000 hours on it, right?
Yeah.
But if you were in the arcade, you were popping quarters like every couple of minutes, and it was a completely different experience, right? So it's
Mm.
it's kind of like it's video game dynamics, man. You got to understand the
Okay. Yeah.
system.
Tell me about this. Okay. What are the dynamics?
Okay, so like everybody talks about content and being king, right? So you got to understand content, right? Then you got to understand your audience, right? It's basic communication theory. You got a sender, you got a message communicating through a channel to hit a receiver.
Okay.
If you basically boil that down back to that basic message, theory and structure, then you can start layering on your segmentation strategy, your personas, and really start tailoring the message to what's going to resonate with groups of people, right? And we know with automation these days, we're getting closer and closer to getting to that one-to-one personalized journey. And
Yeah.
the amount of content you actually have to run a program like that, we're not we can spend hours just trying to talk through the systems and the logic and how you build those types of things. But just if you can kind of think about it in a smaller sense and then you replicate and you scale, it's just understanding what's going to resonate and establish connection, right? And then you got to have the data set up to measurement models and frameworks to understand what it is you're trying to measure, what are you
Yeah.
trying to do. Most folks will push out different content and test and learn, but they forget to bake the key message or the testing variable at that level into the social media tracking. It's funny, like I worked a couple of years ago with a company, and they wanted to roll out their brand pillar messaging and
Okay.
understand the impact around brand pillars. Well, one of the first things we did was try to map content back to each one of the brand pillars and try putting those into different
Okay.
bucket content themes, right? And then once we were able to do that, we were able to kind of craft our content calendar around those key pillars
Oh,
and then
cool.
make into our tracking tags each one of those key pillars. So at the end of the day, you know most teams struggle sometimes where they'll come up with these objectives but not carry it through with the tactical measurement elements that you need to show whether or not what you're trying to prove is valid or not, right? Were you
Right.
successful? So it's funny. I'll list on my profile that I worked on the brand activation campaign of the year, and you say, okay, that sounds awesome and impressive, but what
Yeah.
the heck is it?
What is
Well,
that? Yeah.
it's a PR award, right? And it's like, oh, you must have been working, with the PR team or on the PR team. I'm like, no, actually, I was at the digital agency, and we were part of a agency team working on this campaign for the brand. They're like, well, why are you listing, that on your credentials? Well, it's like, well, I kind of help the PR team with the digital measurement, And
Mm,
we had the website, we had the social footprint. And honestly, it's the numbers that we were able to produce and hand off to show the success of the program that contributed to them winning the award, right? It's like you got to think about the case study. You got to think about, at the end of the day, there's the success story, right? And this
right.
is most folks will kind of plan and forward think. I like to work in reverse. Do you work in
Okay.
reverse? Do
I
you
don't know.
know
Tell
what I'm talking
how
about?
so?
Or
How do you do the reverse thing?
so you reverse engineer success.
Okay. Like
Like
here's the goal. What are the
goal, objective. Hey, here's what we did last year, and let's put an extra 20% on it,
do you do
right?
that for triathlons? Because I know that you do those.
Yeah, yeah, dude. And we could talk about try it. And that's the thing. It's funny. My love of data and just comfort with numbers all goes back to statistics around sports, whether it be triathlon or fantasy baseball. Um, we could go on for hours on any one of those
But
topics,
like, but do
right?
you, to your original point, do you back engineer like I don't have you done like an Ironman or you like a half or
Yeah.
Olympic?
So
I haven't done
I've done.
any of those, so I've only done sprints. So anything you say will be impressive.
Ah, gosh, please, man. It's impressive just getting out there and doing
Sure.
something. I mean, triathlon is one of those sports where you can toe the line with the best in the world, right? You get to the starting line, you look around, everybody's wearing wetsuits. You don't know if the person standing next to you is like a, Olympic champion. Well,
Right.
technically, they're going to be in the pro division, and they'll probably
Yeah.
get the Euro
I'm not
part.
standing next to them in that.
Yeah, yeah, but that's the thing.
Yeah.
It's a great equalizer. You know, those types of races, you've got a starting line, you got a finish line. Everybody has to go through, the same course. Yeah, there's going to be variables. You can have equipment malfunctions. You got to deal with the elements and all
Where
that
your
stuff.
bike is in transition.
Well, yeah, it's stuff like that. I actually blew out a chain on a bike. I was in New York racing the New York Triathlon about 10 years ago or 15. I was like at my heyday. I was like peak performance. I'd crushed the run. I was in like third, position in my age group. Out on
Really?
the bike. Yeah, and then all of a sudden, I guess I'm cranking too hard on the shaft, and my chain splits.
Wait. So you're third at the end of the run at the swim, and then you
Oh
get
well,
into
so they canceled the swim that year because of
what?
bacteria.
So they canceled like Wimps,
Yeah,
New York. They
bacterial.
canceled the swim. I mean, who doesn't want to swim in the Hudson around garbage? But yeah, like everyone. You did the run first, then the bike.
Yeah, so
That's
it turned
weird
into.
because don't you always train bike then run? Run off the bike workout?
Actually, it played to my strength. So I ran
Did it?
track and cross country in college. So I
Okay.
was like, man, this is like the best day ever, right? I'm gonna
Yeah.
crush this. My family was waiting in Central Park,
Wow.
so I was like, oh man, I'm flying. And I actually ran into two guys I went to high school with.
Wow.
They were in the race, and they were like, yeah, go, man. I gave them the thumbs up, and I was, heading into transition. I was like crushing the run. I pulled into transition, and in first position, I'm like, dude, this is like best day
Wow.
ever. I'm like crushing it. And then I get out there, and then the chain snaps. And then you're like,
Like full on snap, like broke.
oh, dude, like, yeah,
Oh
it's like,
man.
it wasn't a chain. It was just like a single
Knocking
line,
on
right?
wood
And
over
you're
here. Yeah.
like what do you do, right?
Right.
And so I was still a novice at the time, right? I was still trying to figure this out. I had a couple of years of experience, but it's a ton of stuff to learn, and I didn't have a chain tool.
A
Like
chain tool.
who carries a chain tool? So a chain tool is heavy, and it's something that you don't ever need. So you're like, okay, I'm trying to be light and efficient.
Yeah.
My chain's not going to pop.
I
I
got a
took it to
flat
the
kit, but I don't have a chain tool. Yeah.
exact. So, what that meant was I basically had to take myself out of the race. I sat there after, crushing it, and I just watched
Man.
everybody and their mother or father and little sister and brother, everybody just pass.
Everybody.
Everybody passed. And so I had to just sit there and watch. And it's things like that that are so
Oof.
humbling and are
Yeah.
so um bigger than you, right?
Yeah.
It's people reminded you that, like, look, it's you could have, ton of success. You could, be in the best shape of your life. You could, be prepared to, launch a big campaign. And then, if you get feeling too good or a little too overconfident, all it takes is something like that to happen. And,
Dang.
plenty of examples of brands failing in social out there, right?
Yeah.
Folks that, forgot to disconnect their personal accounts
Oh
from their.
man. What was it like
Remember those?
Chevrolet? Chevy or someone did that?
Yeah, remember when you actually had to be mindful of that because the technology hadn't caught up to the use cases, right? So
Yeah.
you had, you know, you were running social media from your personal accounts, and then you had to switch over and the cumbersome, am I logged into the brand account or am I logged into my account? And oh man, luckily, the biggest thing I'll say is, like, knock on wood, I haven't had a big social media fail. I've had,
Right.
some things, but luckily, I escaped. I made it out of the trenches, knock on wood,
That's it,
without,
man.
like, completely royally, screwing things up.
So I mean, it's a terrible story. It's a great story. It's terrible for you. And
Ah,
I'll share one with you. I something similar, not a chain though. Um, don't they have like crews that can like fix your bike or like is there?
only the pros, right? Or there's pit crews, right? But you got to
But
understand,
there's no like race. I mean, I guess I've done some local tries where they have like the local bike shop is kind of like patrolling to see if anyone needs any help.
it was a
But
national qualifier event, right? So, like, when you get into that and you get into, like,
how do
the
you even
amateur.
get home? How do you get? You're like
Well,
in the middle of a.
they had somebody pick me up, but they wouldn't fix my bike because that's assistance.
That's oh shit, man.
Yeah, so they gave me a ride back. I sat on the course for 2 hours, and
Two
again,
hours just dude, that's like mental torture watching everyone go by. Were you like in the
well,
middle too, like mile 5? And it's like you can
I was mile 7. I was all the way up the Henry Hudson. I was up by
jeez.
180th Street or something like that. Because they did a great job. They closed everything down, and
Yeah.
if you get a chance to, like, do some of those tries, like, try finding, a city, a course, try to turn that into, like, your vacation if you
Yeah.
can, go down to Disney. They put on some great events, or,
Hmm.
just try to do something that's unique that takes you to a different place. It's
Right.
the journey, it's the story. It's, ultimately you'll have a race day that you can kind of, write home about, right? And that's
Right.
what you got to remember, right? It's You can't focus on the outcomes. You got to remember that it's the journey that got you there that is part of the story, right? Like, if I said, oh yeah, nothing happened on the New York Triathlon, I just kind of, went through, finished third in my age group, went on to nationals, great.
Right.
You know,
What do you do anything differently? Is there anything I can do to prevent that from happening, or is it just like a fluke that your chain breaks?
yeah. So it's too much torque, I guess, right?
You're just too powerful, man. No wonder you had Thor's hammer.
it's well, that's the thing, there's so many other people out there that are so much faster and so much stronger. So if
And their
they're
chains
watching,
didn't break.
exactly, their chain didn't break.
What
So,
the hell, chain?
exactly.
Do you still have the chain? I feel like you need to keep it
Um,
on a mantle somewhere or just throw it away.
no, but funny story you say that. So have you ever,
Yeah.
like, did something like that where you kind of, like, tortured yourself, or kept that constant reminder? Like,
Yeah.
what is it for you? Like, did you do something like that?
Well, for me, it was on a try as well. And for people listening, if you've never, seen a triathlon or done one, there's a lot of equipment. There's a lot of things you need to bring with you. And,
Preparation.
I'm not the best planner. It sounds like you're a way better planner than I am. So I just need to spend more time with you and just be around you. So it rubs off on me. But so I've done a bunch of tries at this point. I don't do like the beginner group. So I'm kind of doing age group. My goal is just not to come in last, right? Don't be the worst person in my age group because then it means there's something wrong. So second, third to last, totally cool, but just do it. And so I've done a bunch, and one time I forgot goggles. Imagine that for a swim. It's like you kind of need that. But one of the guys running the pool was like, "I got an extra pair. Here you go." It was great. But this more recent time, I think it was last year, before they canceled all of them, uh, I got to I drove down there, got in there, it was all kitted up, ready to rock. You got to walk your bike in to the transition ring. You know how this goes, right? You get
Yeah.
set up ahead of time, 4:30, right? Early. You're getting in there before anyone else. And I'm kind of setting up my gear in advance. You kind of lay out you know how it is. You lay out your towel and all this stuff because you gotta be equipped for the swim. This is like wetsuit, usually the cap from the race, the goggles, whatever else you need. And I'm wearing flip flops because I'm like ready to do the swim first. And then you got your bike, which needs bike shoes. You need socks, sometimes I guess, socks, uh, helmet, glasses, right? So there's all these different things. And then the run, right? You need running shoes. You need your belt with your number on it. So there's a lot, hat. There's a lot of things, right? So my brains are, if you're listening to this, your brain's mush. My brain's mush. Maybe you have a better way of managing this, man. But any guesses of what critical piece of gear I forgot for this entire event?
Did you forget your bike?
Nope. That's easy, right? It's big. I'm walking it and it's like a nice used, but it's a really cool looking bike. And yeah, no, had a bike. What else?
Helmet?
Had my helmet. Yeah, well, one more guess. I'll give you one more.
Okay, your racing shorts.
Had those too. I forgot
Oh,
my
okay.
running shoes.
Oh, yeah, that's kind of key. You kind of need
Yeah,
those.
yeah. So, and I realized this, and I'm like, in transitions closing, the races like parking lots maxed. There's no way I can get home, even though it's local. Get home and get them come back. So I called the missus. Was like, hey, I know she's gonna go watch the race at her friend's house. That's on the route. So I was like, okay, cool. Put my running shoes in a bag, like a duffel bag, and just when I come by, I'll stick my arm out, grab the shoes, throw it over my backpack, over my shoulders, because it's just like a local race, right? Assistance and all, but like I'll just grab the shoes that way, and then I'll have them when I get back. Well, apparently, I'm such a fast guy that I rode by their house on the bike long before they were ever there to give me my shoes. So I
No
got
way.
back to transition two, right? I'm in there, and I'd done a not like yours, but like for me, I'd done a decent swim and a great bike. Felt really good. Felt like I
Yeah.
had tons of energy. And now here I am stuck in transition, walking around feeling like a loser. I know the feeling like a loser because I got my hat on, got my glasses on, my numbers are on my waist, and my bike's back on the rack. And it's like, and I've got my flip flops on. And I'm like, what do I do? Do I stay in transition for another 2 hours until they close the race, open it back up so I can go home? Do I walk? Like, what do I do? And I was kind of like pacing around looking to see if anyone had extra shoes. I don't know what to do. And so I literally just started running in my flip flops,
Yes.
you know, like flip flops. And these aren't like cool, like athletic these are like stupid little leather ones. So they're like flopping as I'm running. So it's like flap, flap, flap. And I'm just like the most ridiculous person, feeling like an idiot. But I'm like, well, what could happen? And
Yeah.
it wasn't until a couple people either ran by me or I ran by them, which was really weird. And they were like, whoa, flip flops, cool. Right. And I was like, yeah, cool. It's a thing. It's like the caveman diet. It's like a thing, it's a flip flop run. And they're like,
No.
yeah, that's cool, man. They're like,
What?
that's so badass.
Uh, did you have blisters or cuts at
Yeah.
the
Yeah, good call. Fast forward, I finished it. It was really weird because I passed a few people, and when I
end?
passed them, it kind of broke them. You saw them start walking afterward because they're like, "Flip flop guy passed me. I'm done."
Yeah.
But yeah. So it wasn't blisters. It was like, I don't know, day later, like plantar fasciitis and like all sorts of terrible thing. So it's like I probably should have sat there, but I thought, yeah, I'm a tough guy. I'll just run and nah, terrible, terrible. So I learned that lesson. Next time I'll remember everything or just sit it out.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. Triathlon is great for a number of things, right? You get the health benefits, you get
Yeah.
the social collaboration, and then it also translates to business stuff, right? Like it's all about proper preparation, prevents poor
Yes.
performance, right? It's like, it's the epitome, right?
Oh
And
yeah.
the thing is, to your point, right? It's like, what could you do differently? You just gotta to practice it. It's behavior change, right?
Yeah.
It's like, holy crap, my checklist, you know, you need like 15 things for this, 15 things for that, 10 for that. And then, from being in transition, that's where, once you get to like the elite level, that's where races are won and lost, right?
Really?
Because you're so, you're dealing with, high performance athletes
Yep.
across everything else, right? So then it's like, okay, you know, you're down to optimizing that little window,
Right.
of anywhere from, 45 seconds to 2.5 minutes. And at the end of the day, if you're out on a run, that 30 seconds, 10 seconds, 5 seconds, even 1 second is a game changer. Like
That's a good point.
I was lucky enough to run with some really good folks back in college. Like one of my teammates actually qualified for the Olympic trials in the steeplechase and finished fourth.
Huh?
So he was, you know, um, next man down from making the Olympic team, back in the
Jeez.
day, right? And when you get to that level, you have to train and work and prep and do all this stuff to optimize for like fractions and tenths of a second,
Right.
right? Your entire career, if you think about Olympic athletes, right? All the prepping, all the training, not just in the last couple of years, but from back when you were like a little kid all the way up.
Yeah.
You gotta seize your moment, and everything has to fall into like perfect harmony and go according to plan, or else it's just not gonna end up the way you planned it or dreamed
Right.
it, right? And that's like
Yeah.
there's so many parallels between those types of sports, which most people won't even call a sport, right? They're like, what do you do? You're a Division I athlete. I'm like, yeah, I ran track and cross country. They're like, that's not a sport. You just ran.
That's running.
It's running. I hate running. Nobody knows. How would you call yourself that's not a sport. It's not a game. Yeah, but
Right.
it's definitely sport,
Yeah.
right?
Huh.
So it's so interesting, man. Like, and so that's the one piece of advice. Like when it comes to triathlon and multi-sport, you got to train. You got to do the hard work, right? You're not
Mhm.
going to get faster just by going out and buying the best equipment on the market. Yeah, sure, you are going to get faster, but you're not really going to get as fast as you could be if you did the work, right? You're going to cap your performance at here, right?
Right.
And when you start looking at the competition and going back to what you define as your success and your objectives and kind of where you want to be, you know you gotta say, hey, is my goal not to finish last, or is my goal to finish middle of the pack,
Right.
right? So it's funny, like same college teammates decided that they were going to get together, have like a team reunion. And I was like, oh yeah, cool, let's head out to a bar, catch up, recount some stories. And yeah, no, these guys wanted to do a race, so they're like, yeah, let's meet up at age group nationals, and for masters, the over 40 crowd, we're all kind of in that bucket, and just be like, yo, let's just get out there. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. Like, when is it? December. Oh, they're like, yeah, it's cross country, so it's outdoors,
Huh.
December. Um,
Huh.
okay,
Where?
how long is it?
Hawaii?
6.2 miles.
Better not be New Hampshire.
Yeah, Bethlehem, Pennsylvania.
What?
Yeah. So that's what we did. November. Last year we decided to, get out there. I hadn't raced in almost 5 years. I kind of
Yeah.
dusted things off, and so like same like you, man. I was like, yeah, I don't want to finish last. That was my only goal. And then
Right.
once you get a whole bunch of competitive guys together, they're like, all training. Everybody's starting to text. Oh yeah, this is what I did on last week. This is my mileage. This is kind of, me
Yeah.
in my running shoes, hitting the track. So everybody's kind of trying to one up themselves and just kind of,
Sure.
get everybody excited and motivated and all that stuff. And it's just like, I'm like, oh dear God, I just don't want to. I don't want to break.
Right. Yeah.
But yeah, man. And that's the thing. You talk to anybody who's ever run a race. Everybody out there has usually done a 5K, 10K.
Yeah.
Everybody's got a fantastic story. Even if it's a shitty outcome,
Yeah.
they've got a fantastic story. And that's the thing I can, really say for most folks, looking for some direction and guidance in social media, right? You
Sure.
know, focus on the story. If you've got a good story to tell, you don't need a ton of content, right? You just
Mm-hmm.
need enough that's going to establish a connection with your audience, right? Something that's going
Yeah.
to resonate, something that's going to be like, oh yeah, that either convinces me in about 2 seconds that you're selling something I want to buy. It's you got something interesting that you want to read, or you got somebody saying something interesting enough that I'm going to tune in. So I apologize, man. You're probably going to have like the lowest amount of folks actually watching this thing through, because man, I'm not that interested. Like I'm not a great.
Why would you say that? Speaking of which, I need to ask you now is like, who are you? You grew up running track. Like, where did you grow up? And did you always know you're going to be in social and marketing and technology and all these things? Like, take me back, like little Jeremy days,
Yeah,
little
so
Jer, you know?
yeah, Jerry, there you go. So little Jeremy was happy and social, and just the kid whose dad set up a rope in the backyard, and we'd really work on challenges and doing things different and getting out of the comfort zones. Like my
Yeah.
dad was the guy who would kind of like smash myths and conventions left and right, and he would kind
Mhm.
of hold me up in the palm of his hand and kind of just have fun carrying me around like this. And he would tell me stories how, like, the rest of the family would be like, oh my God, what the heck are you doing? You gotta be, ah!
Yeah.
But my dad and I used to spend a lot of time down in the shop. He worked with wood. He was in construction.
Nice.
So we did a lot. But around the age of 7, my world got rocked. My parents got divorced.
You're
Went into a
7?
little, yeah, when I was 7, right back in the 80s. Nobody got divorced back in the 80s, like the early 80s, right?
Right.
So growing up, I was the ultimate outcast, right? I was the kid from a divorced home who was raised to be a vegetarian.
Oh,
He liked
no.
playing chess more than he liked, other games.
Yep.
So, dude, I've got a horror stories, out the wazoo, of kids' birthday parties and traumatic experiences and all that sort of stuff. Enough to kind of, say, like, when it was time to choose a college, I wanted to go to a party school to learn how to be social, right?
Yeah.
Like,
I hear you.
so that was the thing. Like, I always knew I wanted to get into advertising and marketing. Like, I watched a lot of TV growing up as a kid.
Yep.
I spent a lot of time, learning how to be social from like Arnold on Different Strokes, right?
So, like,
I would
not
watch.
learning.
Well, you know what? It was learning, right?
Was it?
Like, well, yeah, because you learned how people presented themselves and
Oh, I
spoke
hear
and
you.
talk. And so when you're in social media or in profession, right? So I went to school ultimately for interpersonal communication. What the
Interesting.
heck is that? I basically studied, one-to-one conversations and how to have a good conversation. And, let me just tell you, I made the mistakes early in my career saying that I, knew how to read people or have conversations, establish touch points. And man, yeah, if,
Yeah.
if you go around saying that is your superpower, you're going to have, people looking at you like, 50 ways from sideways. Right. But, so I kind of architected my career knowing that this is where I wanted to go. Like in high
Huh.
school, I knew I wanted to go into advertising. At the time it was, TV, and then
What? Like, what? Why'd you know that in high school? Just from all that TV, and you're just like,
yeah, seriously, man, watching all
yeah.
the TV, I thought it was fun. I never wanted to wear a suit.
Hmm.
I never wanted to be that corporate guy. And I was like, okay, I knew some people in the ad space. I didn't really know what they do, but they were just always the cool, fun guys and gals. I was like,
Yeah.
that's cool. Well, let me check that out. So I actually went to school, interpersonal, but then I studied PR. And
Yep.
I went to PRSSA, conferences. My senior year, I got my Edelman T-shirt, my Golan
Nice.
Harris hat, right? So,
Sure.
that's where I thought I was going to go. And then I sucked at press releases. I was like the worst,
PR
man.
is
Like,
tough. It's weird
well,
too.
you know what it was? It was purple pens. Purple pens were what my PR professor used to do to mark up all of our press releases that we'd write in college. And I get back a white piece of paper that looked like Barney, right?
Why purple? Was that just what that professor did?
Yeah, that was her thing, man. She had
Huh.
that was her brand. That was everybody knew the thing, right? And
Yeah.
knew that you do that. I had another professor who was all about huge fun, and so like he would wear a shirt, like his whole thing was huge fun, and you'd sit there, you listen to it, and I got schooled and educated by some fantastic folks early on, and just tried to build up, experiences. I worked with a lot of great teams over the years. I worked for and moved on from a lot of great companies. So I've
Hmm.
been trying to pick up and the best pieces to kind of put into my magic mix and secret sauce over the years.
Right.
And you know, it's funny. Like I felt in some ways I got to the top of the mountain, and then got there for a couple months, a year or two, and then get knocked all the way down to the bottom and had to climb all the way back up. I've had, you probably understand the analogies from your climbing adventures, but it's like, there's only so long you can stay at the top where it's sustainable, before,
Yeah.
somebody else is coming along or doing something else, and you got to pivot, you got to find another mountain to climb, you got to do all that stuff. So,
Sure.
long story short, I learned how to be social by, going to school,
Hmm.
University of Delaware, Blue Hens.
That's a party school, University of
It
Delaware.
was at the time, I
Yeah.
just, had a reputation, and I was like, you know what? It also had a really good reputation for a good communication program, right?
Interesting.
So
Yeah.
I guess I didn't focus enough on school early on to get into Syracuse or Penn State. That's kind of where I want, anybody who wants to go into
Mm.
communication, those are really the top schools that,
I will say, man, I almost went to Syracuse and for PR, right? Because they're
yeah,
comm school, and
yeah, yes.
and I was on their website. Arguably, this was like 2000, but I'd been on AOL for like years at that point, and and I wanted to like have a chat or like send a message, send an email to the head of the department. I wanted to kind of like do that kind of plan, just find out more about the department. And I couldn't see anything on their website. So when I called the department, I was like, I want to email this guy. And she's like, oh, he doesn't have an email address. I was like, are you kidding me? And so I just never applied there because I was like, you guys are a little bit behind. So
Yeah.
perhaps.
Case in point, Delaware had a T1 connection in the dorms.
Whoa.
So when I graduated high school, my grandparents were like, "Hey, what do you want for your graduation gift?" I was lucky enough where they were able to do something, and they gave me some cash. I
Nice.
didn't buy a car. I bought a computer.
Yeah.
I was one of those guys, you'd see in the dorms, with the network games, playing Quake, and
Oh, yeah. So it's Quake. Okay.
yeah, it was
You ever
Quake
do
back in the
StarCraft?
day. Nah, I didn't really get into that. I kind of moved
Interesting.
on to other stuff. Like I was a campus rep for You Don't Know Jack, that trivia game.
I remember that. Yep.
Yeah, so back in the day, influencer programs, all that stuff, they're like, oh yeah, they send me a whole package of You Don't Know Jack posters and brand collateral, and
Huh.
I just walked around campus being a rep for those guys. Like it's
Wow.
funny. Like I got my first job out of school. Like I drove around the country for 4 months promoting kiwi fruit. It was
Yum.
like real world road rolls. We had 10 folks, driving
Yeah.
those cars and handing out fruit, so
That's cool.
going back to social experiments and social conversation and all that stuff, man. To really understand your audience, you kind of have to either do a lot of listening and monitoring, or you got to talk to a lot of people to really understand, and get folks and
Right.
what motivates, what drives people, what's gonna incentivize folks to click, right, or what's gonna get people and excited enough to create and submit user generated content, right? Like
Right.
you got to find out what that social value exchange play is going to be, and everybody you talk to, it's going to be a different mix, right? So it's like that's what you get from talking to folks, right? And that's one of the biggest
Yeah.
things you know that companies are dealing with the situation we're all in, right? With all this remote work and folks not you know, able to do the in-person interactions, those water cooler chats, all the way up to the sales calls, to all that stuff, and just trying to rely on, hey, how do we further
Hmm.
shift our in-person experience into the digital space? And
Yep.
you know the real recipe is like, look, just think about how you would have it in a normal scenario, and think about, what the benefit and the value you got out of those in-person interactions, and then focus on those as the most important things to recreate online, right?
Right.
Try to
Right.
get folks involved, and the longest, time, brands were like, oh yeah, brand awareness, and then you got the other folks going results and attribution, like the best way to play is somewhere in between. You got the content is king folks. You've got,
Mm-hmm.
all those, the best spot and the best place to play is in the middle, right? If you can play in the middle and just kind of speak to all those folks at the table, pull in the best mix, the best secret sauce, and kind of, borrow those and produce something unique to you, to your brand and your company, that's what's going to set you apart, right? Because if you read a podcast, well, not read a podcast. I mean, you could if you have it,
You
the
could. You got a
transcripts and all
transcript of
that
one. Yeah.
stuff. Yeah, great for SEO, all that kind of good stuff, right? But you could read a blog post, you could, hop on like a webinar, you could, watch what we're talking about now, and
Mm-hmm.
really goes back to, your situation. You got to understand what you're doing, what's working, what's not working,
Mm-hmm.
what the competition is doing, what's working for them, what's not working for them, and really just kind of focus on like a core set, of like 3 to 5, companies, right?
Right.
Yeah, you want to look outside your industry. You want to know what's happening, monitor the overall trends, pull, bits and pieces in from, different places, because that's going to make you more unique, right? And it's
Right.
going to enable you to tell a better story and do things differently, right? Don't get distracted by the shiny objects, unless you've conquered the basics and, have them humming and purring, like a well fine-tuned engine from your operations perspective, right?
Mm-hmm.
We can talk all day about myths around process and operations and everybody going to the content piece without even focusing on,
I know.
getting the conveyor belt in the factory line and the distribution channels and the API connections and just like the data points connected on the back end, and what does the dashboard look like, right?
Yeah.
You there's some basics that you have to have if you're going to have any sort of success out there today, right? Like
Right.
real meaningful success. And so, you got to constantly tinker. You got to constantly, evaluate yourself. Look, in this time, right? Do some soul searching, look inward, really evaluate, ask those tough questions. Is this working? Is it not working? What can we do that can be better? How can we deliver more value in what we're producing every day?
Right.
And more value, it's not so much more value for us. I mean, yeah, you got to think about, value that you're going to get back, but, the big altruistic things really come into play is like, what value can I give to my customers, my audiences, right? And if you can kind of come up with that recipe and formula where you can actually create that win-win, moment, right? Where you're
Mm-hmm.
delivering value to your customers and your audience, while in return you're getting equal, or greater value back. That's unbelievable, right?
Yeah.
And if you think about it, that's really what some of the best, programs do out there, right? They look for that, that one thing, that's important to their target audience, right? They learn how to harness common themes, common, messages, common, denominators, right? Again, going back to the whole math equation, right? Like you have
Mm-hmm.
to figure out what that common thing is that the most people at scale can resonate to, and then you allow people to customize it, tweak it, make it their own in a unique way, add their own flavor, their own special sauce to it. This is going back to like the UGC playbook from like 2006 or, way back when. We'd give people templates. We'd say, hey, you can take our logo, take our, actually, you know what? Let me use an example from Pop Station, which was like
Okay.
probably the greatest startup that nobody ever heard about because we launched, we're, in market for a couple months and then we got scuttled, right? But
Yeah.
greatest probably never heard of is Pop Station. So we had original music, and what we did was we put the music up online, and we would let artists join the community, download the music, and kind of record their own unique version or variation of the song, and then upload that back up into Pop Station. And we kind of recreated the Billboard charts. And you could actually, with, you know, votes and ratings, get your song up the chart, down the chart, and turn that into a gamifications, you know, environment where, you know, at the end of a 3-month long contest cycle, you know, whatever song was at the top of the charts qualified for a recording contract. Right. And we
Okay.
gave all the artists, you know, a promotional toolkit with their badges, their buttons to promote their song, to try to get more votes on the platform as a way to kind of, you know, raise awareness for us. You know, we basically gave them the tools to be our number one advocates and number one, you know, promoters. And they had a vested interest in it. Right. You know, there
Right.
was a equal level of social value exchange. Right. And, you know, I always wanted to come up with a theory. I always wanted to publish a paper. And, you know, social value exchange theory was kind of like my theory, right? It's
Yeah.
like, you know, there has to be an equal value of social media clout, or, you know, digital goods exchanged, you know, whether it's, you know, a like, a click, in exchange for, you know, a
Yeah.
downloadable piece of content or all that. You
It
know,
has to
you
be
can,
some kind of barter. Yeah.
it is a barter system, right? That's
Yeah.
the true way of thinking about it. And when you think about, you know, when you're producing a program, you got to keep on asking yourself, hey, am I giving enough value out there to get the outcomes that I'm hoping for in exchange?
Yep.
You know, anybody who's worked in, you know, promotions over the years, or, you know, worked on a contest, knows that the prize has to be relevant enough, you know, to the audience in order to get any sorts of entry, any sorts of fan participation, any sorts of stuff, right? So, you know, over the years, brands have gone big. If you worked on the Super Bowl, right? The best, you know, recipe of success for a number of years was just offer up Super Bowl tickets or big
Right.
game tickets, right? And kind of get folks to their fan experiences, you know, all that stuff, destination trips, you know, that's how companies, you know, get the best results of their salespeople, right? You know, send people on these massive, amazing trips, give them, you know, spending cash, put them up in these hotels, you know, right? Well,
Mm-hmm.
think about what's going to motivate your audience to, you know, engage with your content, you know, watch your podcast, right? And,
Right.
you know, really look across the board, right? Look at radio, look at, you know, print, look at direct mail, right?
Yep.
You know, Jeffrey Cologne, I don't know if you follow him, you know, big influencer,
Mm.
you know, Microsoft Brand Studio,
Oh
all
yeah,
that.
yeah, no. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, his big thing is like
Yeah.
everything's a remix, right? And
He was
you know,
actually on here.
oh, okay, cool. Yeah. So,
Yeah.
you know, Jeff, he's awesome, right? I
He
had
is
the
actually
chance.
cool. I was always skeptical. So I was like, oh, Microsoft guy, but no, he's a really smart dude.
Yeah, well, you know, I was working alongside of him for a hot minute at Ogilvy. You know, our paths
No
crossed
kidding.
inside and out. And yeah, no, the dude's authentic, and there's so much truth to that, right? Everything is
Yeah.
a remix, right? I mean, everything's borrowed. The innovation really is doing something new that hasn't been done, you know, at your company, with your brand, with your audience, with these tools, with this content. There's so much room for innovation out there. Everybody's looking for like the next game changer. You know, innovation doesn't have to be this massive, amazing, huge idea. It's great if it is. And, you know, big ideas across marketing is so super powerful. They can be the linchpin
They re-
for your entire
yeah.
program for a year, 2 years, and tie back to your brand platform, all that kind of great stuff. What I'm talking though is, you know, most folks don't realize that they can be super innovative just by doing some really simple things, by
Yeah.
borrowing things from one place, transplanting it, and doing something unique and putting a little spin on it,
Mm-hmm.
right? And that's, you know, if I have to give any advice out there for anybody at any stage of their career is, you know, you got to constantly look for ways to do something differently.
Yep.
Don't follow the same path that somebody else followed. Yeah, you can follow it anecdotally and um, for guidance. But if you walk in the exact same path that somebody else is going to walk in, you're going to be living somebody else's dream, and you're going to get somebody else's results, right? Yeah, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. But I mean, if you look at the innovators that everybody aspires to be, they're all doing something differently, something
Mm-hmm.
unique, saying something differently, working in a different method. And that's the thing, you
They're following their
gotta.
passion, right? I mean, it's their passion. So trying to copy them, you'd be really happy if that was your passion too. But if that's not your passion, you're going to be miserable, Like,
You gotta
oh,
walk in your own shoes and remember to bring them
yeah.
on race
Well, say it
day.
again.
You gotta walk in your own shoes and remember to bring them on race day.
Yeah. Remember to bring your shoes. I couldn't run in biking shoes, right? So it was like,
Oh, I've tried because I actually, I will admit I've done some really, stupid stuff.
but
Even
I have like the newbie ones with like the triangle on the bottom. So they're not even flat. They don't even like,
well, no, no, man, you don't worry about that, right? So like,
no?
there's the there's different pedals for different
Yeah.
things, right? And you only,
Yeah.
I actually would prefer to use mountain bike cleats,
Interesting.
in transition before they actually came out with, better triathlon specific, bike shoes,
Okay.
right? Like mountain bike shoes. Why the heck would you buy mountain bike shoes instead of like road cycling pedals?
Yeah.
Same principle, right? Like you had to have something that you could get off the bike, run for a little bit, had a hard cleat on it, and kind of cover, if the transition zone was in, asphalt or cement
Good
or,
call.
right? You
Yeah. Good call.
had to kind of figure it, that the whole thing out. But you have to figure out what's going to be, unique to you,
Mm-hmm.
your uniqueness from a brand, your methodology, your approach, and show it and flaunt it, and but don't say your way is the only way to do stuff, right?
Right.
That's where, if you go out there, you've got, so and so telling you this is the way to do it. You got another person, this is the way to do it. You'd be crazy not to do it. I live in the day, I grew up in the days of Crazy Eddie, man.
Yeah.
Insane. And you got to really, balance, all those messages, put some filters on it, and really kind of boil it down to, okay, at the end of the day, what's the strategy? What's the execution? Are they aligned, just at the hip, are they aligned with, the brand?
Mm-hmm.
Are they aligned with the results and the data? Are they fully connected across the ecosystem? Do you have your personal touch points to complement your digital touch points? It's not just, have your digital channels, but you got to have the people who manage those kind of set up in your blueprint, whether you're running a hub and spoke model or
Right.
a dandelion or any of that stuff. Focus on your operational models. Focus on, how you're going to do your day to day. Focus on planning how you're going to spend your time. Going back to what we were talking about earlier about, social media not being free, right? You got to plan out, how you're going to make the results happen, how you're going to be successful. And
Right.
here's the thing, it's funny. Like I love Jim Carrey movies.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't realize, because I wasn't, focused on it, that, in his later years, he did one heck of a job, putting out the motivational speech, oh my
Yeah.
God, like going back and watching some of those early interviews where he's basically said he wrote himself a check for $10 million
I remember
and
that. Go ahead. Tell the
he
story. Yeah. Yeah.
self-fulfilling prophecy is a thing. It's a communication theory. Like if you believe something, you visualize something, you can actually go make it happen. And that's what social construction is kind of all about, right? It's social constructs or things that are shared beliefs and behaviors at scale. You get enough people thinking it, believing it, then
Mm-hmm.
you know you can create and build reality, right? And we don't have to get into politics or any of this other stuff.
Right.
Plenty of other folks who've kind of gone down that path to kind of fabricate, alternative realities and facts and all that stuff. And it's crazy. Like, we can spend another like 5 hours talking about, how to safeguard your brain from all the competing signals and,
Dude,
the power of disconnecting,
you're
right?
you're incredible. You're insane. I love it. I feel like I could talk to you all day and learn from you, but like I don't know if you looked at the time, we've warped through it all. So we're just gonna have to have you come back in like the
Whoa.
winter time, and then you can help me figure out how to train in the winter when I can't get outside and run.
Yeah.
But
Two
go
words
ahead.
for you. Bike
Yeah, go ahead.
trainer,
What's that?
bike trainer, Peloton, any of that stuff. But dude, it's been a blast. And
Is that
it's
what
funny.
I'll do that? Yeah.
Yeah. My buddy was like, there's no way. What the heck are you going to talk about for an hour and a half? I'm like,
Yeah.
dude,
Dude, there's some things we didn't even get a chance to talk about. So there's like
yeah.
plenty to go. But hey, real quick, throw out where can people connect with you, links,
Sure.
LinkedIn, social media, URLs, all that stuff, the construction, all that.
Yep. So if you know how to spell my name, you can pretty much find me Anywhere. So I was one of those folks who was blessed with uniqueness with a name, right? My
Yeah.
parents gave me, Jeremy Muratore. You can Google it, and for better or for worse, I'm the only one you're going to find,
Nice, dude.
that I know of, right?
Yeah.
So you can find me on LinkedIn, Twitter. You can probably still find my MySpace page, but please don't go there.
Yeah.
And then you'll just Google me and you'll find me. And my
That's
my
awesome.
business, I'm starting up some new things, social construction. As a consultant practice, you may see me pop up, but it's funny. I've taken a hiatus from most social activity. This is actually, believe it or not, dude, it's my first podcast slash video cast.
Okay,
So
cool.
you gotta let me know how I did,
You
because
crushed it.
it's all new for me,
Totally
man.
crushed it. Yeah. You need your own
And
podcast, man.
we'll get there. But again, I've got to get the basics done first.
Okay.
So like I'm trying to drink my own Kool-Aid, right? I
Sure.
gotta
Yeah. Yeah.
I got to get some of the basics done first before I can do the fun stuff, right? And it's that work ethic, that's pretty much defined, the blueprint of my career. So I got to get to work, man. I really got to get
You're gonna
out there.
reverse engineer it, right?
Exactly. I got my vision board. Now I just got to make it happen and connect the dots
Yeah.
and get there. But Casey, it's been a blast, man. Can't thank you enough for having me on the
Absolutely,
show.
dude.
Hopefully, you found it interesting and there was some value. I know
Hell
it can get
yeah.
kind of monotone and relaxed.
You're just a chill guy. Did you swim this morning?
No, I had
You
to take a
run?
break.
Oh,
That 3-month sprint to get me race ready for nationals back in November
yeah.
led to some cranky Achilles, so
Oh,
I had to take
tell
a
me
break for a
about it.
couple of months. Oh, dude, it's all good. I'll get back out. But
Okay.
yeah, I actually finished middle of the pack. I went
No
from
kidding.
no races for 5 years to middle of the pack, and I was proud that I didn't finish last. Right,
I'm
so
with you, right? For the people listening, if you learned something, and I know you did because I literally have 2 pages of notes over here, front and back, then share this with someone else. LinkedIn's great for that. Be a thought leader. Share it with like 90 people, 104, 3,002, whatever. But put your takeaways on the top. Put what your thoughts are. Tag myself, tag Jeremy. We'll hop in there. We'll start a good conversation. And that's how you show that social leadership, that social value that Jeremy was talking about. So, hey, man, it's been awesome. We'll have to have you come back on here, talk some more
cool.
shop, more video games, and have a good time.
Yeah, man, we didn't get to the fun stuff. So
I know. It's
yeah, the
so much to talk
definition of
about.
fun, right?
See?
I love work. This is fun for me. So, man, anytime you want to
Totally.
chat, anytime, I'm game. I'll make time for you. It's been a pleasure. It's
Awesome.
been fun. Thank you.
Anytime, man. For those listening, this has been the Hardcore Marketing Show. We will catch you all next time.